All right, guys, we are on part two, and that means it's time to break down what random stuff that we want to talk about for the current events in the hot tags for this week.
Hot tags.
Hot tags. A little lukewarm this week. I've made that joke enough times. I can officially retire that after this week. Let's just throw a random run out here. WWE has officially signed Kenta to NXT developmental, and that's obviously one of the bigger ones to talk about this week. I don't really know all that much about Kenta, so he's one of those Sin Cara kind of things. I didn't know much about Sin Cara when he was announced, but if he's a big name and if he's as good as they think that he is and what everybody else says, then awesome. The more good people that you get in WWE, the better. And hopefully it just doesn't turn into a Sin Cara thing because I don't know if there's really anybody else who could try to pretend to be Kenta on the roster. I don't think Unigo can pull it off. But what do you think about this, Wago?
I think it's an awesome signing. I'm in favor of whenever they bring in some international talents. I worry what they're going to do with him, and hopefully he learns to speak English. I'm glad they're sending him down to NXT so he can learn the style, learn to play to the cameras, and get a bit of grooming before they bring him up to the big leagues. So I'm excited for the signing, but I'm not going to get my hopes up for how they use him.
Miguel?
I want to be excited about this because I mean Kenta obviously is a big name from where he comes from, which they could always use that kind of rub. I mean, supposedly the big reason why they're bringing him in is because when they do the expansion for the WWE network into Japan, they want him to be one of the flagship spokesmen for it, which is great. But I feel like it's going to be one of those situations where they're going to make a big deal about him and then they're just going to have him on the roster to have him. He's just going to be a job guy for the most part, and they'll trot him out to Japan or to do promotional stuff whenever they need him, and I honestly think that's a real disservice to the guy. I think if they really wanted to make a star out of him, they could, but we've seen time and time again with Japanese wrestlers that they get bored of them real quick. So I don't know if this is it's great that he's going to WWE, but I wonder if it's gonna be a step up in the right direction for him, or if he's just better off staying in New Japan.
Hmm. Sean, what do you think?
He's Asian. He invented the GTS. Great stuff.
Short and to the point. Payton?
Yeah, he is the Asian sensation. Everyone really kind of touched on any points I would have brought up. I think the smartest thing they're doing is that they are sending him down to NXT first. A lot of people get butthurt about that, like, oh, he's ready, he doesn't need that. Listen, he's a legend over in Japan. He's not a legend here. He's still got a lot to learn to adjust here. I think he actually is pretty decent with the English language, but still, there's the WWE style you got to learn. You don't want to make the same mistake you did with Sin Cara. You don't want to overhype him, bring him up to the main roster, and push him to the moon, and then find out he's a flop. I don't have as much of a worry with that as Kenta. His style, I think, is going to combine with the WWE style a lot easier than Sin Cara's did, which was more in the lucha-based style, and there's really no other luchas in WWE. Kenta can find other technical-based wrestlers, and he can even adjust his style more to get in there as well. And he's wrestled in America many times before. He's wrestled in Ring of Honor, so that's not going to be as much of an issue. The big thing with the signing is, of course, to build up their market in Japan, not just for the expansion of the WWE network, but I believe they also just signed a big deal to get NXT airing over in Japan. So having him down in their NXT program is going to be big, big numbers for them with that show. Overall, I think this is a fantastic signing, and I hope for the best for everybody involved. Hopefully our first Japanese world champion, and we're not just going to sit here and keep begging for it like we did with the English world champions.
What do you mean? Yokozuna was clearly Japanese. So we go from the guy who invented the GTS to the guy who made the GTS popular in America. CM Punk has been removed from the roster on WWE.com and put over into the alumni list. So that's, what, a day after they tried to market the WWE Network's airing of the DVD or something. I don't know why there's certain people that are really thinking that this is just like, oh, they're just doing that because he's going to come back and he's the plan C or whatever. Punk's gone. I mean, isn't that obvious by now? Especially after doing something like this. Who knows? Wago, you've been the guy who has been saying for a while that it's all work. Still hanging on that?
When he returns in a couple of years, you're all going to be sorry, and yeah, I'll be right. But
I mean, it's just like Ryback. They're not burying him.
Yeah, not burying him right back. They're just like keep cooling him off for a bit.
For a few years.
Yeah. As far as this goes, yeah, that's the section for guys that don't appear on the roster anymore, and he hasn't for quite a while now, so it makes sense. No reason to make a big deal out of it. But that's Sting, huh?
We'll do him next. Miguel, your thoughts on CM Punk?
It's unfortunate, but he had his run. I think for a guy in his position to have gotten away with a 434-day title reign is really impressive. Honestly, if you don't take into account that small bit in between where he wasn't champ, he had it he was in the limelight for a pretty substantial amount of time. So I can never say that he never got his due. It really is unfortunate at a time where I think they are missing big name stars. They could really use a guy like him up there, mixing it up with the likes of Orton and Cena and things like that, and especially with the new crop of stars. But, I mean, stars come and go, so it is what it is. I'd love to see him come back sooner rather than later. I'm never going to give up hope on that, but I think we can all agree that his current run as a star is pretty much done.
John? Yeah, did we lose Sean?
He said if he falls asleep, just cut him off.
Oh, my bad. I accidentally muted my mic.
Oh, okay.
Flat.
And now here's the real Sean Walker, folks.
What do you think of Punk, Sean?
I honestly thought this was going to come a lot sooner because I honestly thought his contract like expired like 2 weeks ago, but it's next week, isn't it? His contract expires so next 2 weeks.
Let me check Jeffel Zone.
It's sometime by the end of the month, I think, unless they went ahead with that extension that we were talking about last week or so. But what's the point of doing an extension if they're, not going to ever have him to pop up on the roster again?
Nah.
Peyton, round us out here.
There's a lot of conflicted opinions about this. I don't personally miss CM Punk too much, but I think it is a shame that he got all this time on top. He got what he wanted and then just packed his bags and went home. If he needed a little vacation, that's one thing, but the fact that he's completely shunned wrestling since then really is kind of turn off for me. I was a Punk fan for a period of time. During the last year he was around, I felt like he was just phoning it in and he was not putting in the effort that truly the company deserved from him. So this is probably beneficial for everybody involved. I just hope this doesn't tarnish his legacy overall, and maybe he could still come back someday. He's still young enough to where he can come in for another 2, 3, 4 year run, but as it stands right now, he's got a lot to make up for, in my opinion. And I don't want to just be that guy naysaying it, but this was a really crummy way to go out, and I'm sure it wasn't his optimal choice to have done it that way, but just really sad story, I think, and hopefully this isn't the end of CM Punk.
It won't be. If WWE can bring back Brock Lesnar after the nonsense that they went through with him, there's a good chance Punk will be back.
Yeah, I could see him coming back eventually, and then Wiggle would be like, "Oh, I was right the whole time."
It's been the longest swerve in It's been the longest swerve in WWE history.
Yeah, it'll just be like the Montreal Screwjob. Brett's back. That was all bullshit too.
So we also have the first time that Sting has ever popped up on anything WWE related outside of like a DVD or retrospective or something, and that was that little commercial that they ran on Raw, which pissed people off because they were expecting Sting to come out. So it was
Fucking
like,
idiots.
oh my god, there's Sting. Wait a minute, there's not Sting? Fuck you then.
I got my face painted all like Sting for nothing.
And apparently it cost them $200,000 to record that video, 2K Sports. How the fuck would it cost $200,000 to do that?
Okay, guys, we're losing a lot of money now. Need to focus on the essentials. $200K on advertisement.
I completely believe it, because even looking at it, I was like, wow, the production on this is high.
Yeah,
it just looked expensive.
As a guy who does these kinds of things, it's very easy to rack up that kind of number doing a commercial. You got to consider they had all those extras they had to pay. Extras get paid a pretty good amount of money, especially when you're talking about getting specialists. Like, those people were all musicians. I remember seeing the casting call for this. Those were all trained musicians, so they would know how to play in time. They weren't playing the actual music you were hearing, but they had to know to sync their movements up with what was going on. They had to spend all that money getting makeup, costumes, probably renting those instruments. I can't imagine all those musicians brought them themselves. That was a very excellent commercial they put together, and I have no problems believing that was easily $200,000, if not more.
It's a good thing that 2K Sports funded the bill, though.
Yeah.
Because if WWE would have done that with all that cost-cutting measures that they've been doing, they'd just been like, fuck.
They got it. They went into their Rockstar budget. That was their GTA budget they put into that.
I'm sure they've got quite a bit left over from what they made back off it.
Well, does anybody else have any other things they want to say about this video and Sting popping up on 2K15?
I
Looks
forgot
fucking
how
old.
I forgot how awesome that version of Sting's song is.
Yes, I love the Crow theme.
Yeah, and not even the original one, the really big orchestral one that he came out to later down the line before he got Seek and Destroy. That opening still gives me chills.
I pre-ordered the game anyways, so you know.
No difference.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna pre-order it myself. First time I pre-ordered a WWE game, I think. They never really enticed me with any offers before, and that whole Undertaker thing they did last year was neat, I guess. I wasn't even sure if I was going to buy that game last year. This one already is hooking me more than the one previously, based on the roster and now the pre-order bonus. Once they actually show us some gameplay, I'm probably going to be rushing to the store to drop down my $5 on it.
What was the thing that you were trying to say, Wago? About it being old?
Sting looks old as hell now. I didn't realize. I haven't seen him in a while, or at least not on some decent cameras.
Well, let me break some news to you guys. That was not Sting in that commercial. That was a body double.
That was?
Mm-hmm.
Was?
Mm-hmm.
Nah.
Mm-hmm.
Nah.
Mm-hmm.
Nah.
Did it cost $100,000 to get that body double?
Yeah, I kind of buy it because the body double did not look anywhere as weathered as Sting does. Like,
Especially the hair.
I actually did watch TNA in those later years before Sting left, and yeah, he looks way older than that guy did. Like, if that was supposed to be Sting, he got work done in those intermittent years, in those intermittent months, actually.
You never know. I mean, when you come to WWE, you tend to look better no matter what. So I just kind of assumed that Sting got there and was just like, this is what it's like.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that kind of thing where you just lose all the weight off your shoulders and all that other kind of stuff. And, like, imagine after that, like, what would happen to Kurt Angle? He'd be like, my neck doesn't hurt anymore. I'm in WWE.
Oh, my hair grew back. This is amazing.
My marriage is back together. My Twitter account didn't get hacked today. This is great. Let's move on to another topic here. This is just something stupid to throw out there. We joke every once in a while that WWE listens to Smack Talk. Obviously, we have no means of knowing if that ever did happen or ever will happen, and you have to assume that they don't because, you know, why would WWE waste their time and whatever. But every so often, there's an odd coincidence that happens, and it makes you kind of think. Now, one of them's coming up in the Did You Know? But the other one I want to throw out here is another thing that we referenced on Monday Night Raw, the Monday Night Raw post-show. Team Kof-E from Peyton. Now WWE the next day is thinking about actually putting those two together and making that the team name. I blame you, Peyton.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Team Kof-E.
You say you blame Payton, but fuck, you would have come up with that.
I blame him for thinking of it ahead of time and me not being able to take credit for such a terrible name.
Well,
I believe it.
And like a more positive note, I support the tag team. Maybe not the name, but tag team I'm all for. And for that matter, I support Heath Slater and Titus O'Neil. When you first told me that pairing the other night, I thought it was odd. Which, by the way, that was the team that was supposed to face the Usos on Monday. So that question's been answered.
Oh, really?
Yep, there's actually a really funny backstage interview on the WWE YouTube channel, their Raw Fallout, whatever it's called, with an interview with those two. And oh my god, they were hilarious with each other. So I'm actually looking forward to more of that tag team, and Kofi and Big E for that matter.
So he's going to stop being hearsay and he's going to be here bark to kind of mix those two up? But they're also thinking about doing, on top of Team Kof-E, they were polling people for 2 other team names, and one of them was the Layla and Summer Rae team of Lay Ray.
Oh God.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Roll my eyes at that one. The other one I thought was actually like kind of okay, and that was the Cameron and Alicia Fox one, the Foxadactyls, which is so stupid that I laughed out loud, and I was like, all right, if you want to go with that, I'll fucking buy into it. Like, so Kof-E, Foxadactyls, and Lay Ray. What do you guys think about these teams? Do you think that the team names are terrible enough that they shouldn't team up, or just get new team names, or you're all in for it and whatever happens, happens? Wago?
With how terrible these names are, yeah, they're definitely fucking listening.
What's your favorite?
Lay Ray. It's so fucking ridiculous. I hope none of these names work out. Some of the teams are interesting, though. I like Big E and Kofi Kingston. We need more random black people being shoved together.
Well, I'm pretty sure that we agreed that they need to just put those 2 together, and Xavier Woods and R-Truth, and bring back JTG and Mark Henry, and just make that Nation of Domination that everybody keeps saying for years, right?
Seems legit, not racist at all.
That's what like every wrestling website says constantly. Black guys team up together. Why don't they make a Nation of Domination? Like, just because they happen to have that skin tone, they should be angry at everybody and stuff.
That's my article for our next bit on getting over.
What do you think about these different teams and their names and everything, Miguel?
I think whoever comes up with these names needs to be fired on the spot. I don't even care if it's Stephanie. No. So these... I can't even be mad at this point, because it's probably from the same people who came up with the name Dolph Ziggler and what was that other one, Lucky Cannon and Eli Cottonwood. Just something about names is just they go full retard. I don't understand.
I think those names were by Dusty Rhodes.
That explains a lot.
Yeah. It's a Lay Ray, baby.
Like, you see him being backstage and being like, your name's Eli Cottonwood, and they'll just be like, fucking Dusty wants to name him Eli Cottonwood. Yeah, why don't we just do it?
You what about the weirdo with the mustache? Yeah, do it.
No, he doesn't have a mustache. His mustache is just better than everybody else's.
In terms of the actual teams themselves, I'm fine with them. They're makeshift tag teams, but they could work, especially in the case of I'm not even gonna say the actual name, but Cameron and Alicia Fox. I mean, that's as makeshift as you can get. The Summer Layla thing, I guess, makes sense. I mean, honestly, if you're gonna call them anything, call them the Dolphettes, because I think they should be Dolph Ziggler's valets. But then that's just me. In terms of what was the other tag team that they had?
The Kofi and the Kingston and Langston.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, those guys I think could really work off of each other. I guess the name Kof-E isn't too insulting.
Kof-E Lankingston.
I'm just waiting for whatever name they're going to give Slater and Titus. I'm sitting here trying to figure out what gimmicky names they can give those guys.
That's your next one to name, Peyton. Since you got Kof-E right. Mm-hmm. What do you think about it, Sean?
I'm still butthurt the fact that Kurt Hogan's left and I didn't get a CT Broski one last time.
The Major Broskis.
Major
it would have worked.
Mm-hmm.
Would have worked.
So, fuck WWE creative.
Your thoughts about this, Peyton?
Oh my goodness, these teams are awful. And this is on top of, what's that awful tag team name they came up for the NXT group? Was like the Mechanics or something?
Yeah, the Mechanics, and then they had to immediately explain what they meant by the Mechanics. Because everybody was like, I don't see any fucking construction stuff going on. And
yeah, if you're
like, no, ring mechanics, like Arn Anderson. We really like Arn Anderson.
Yeah, if you have to explain what your team name means, it's not going to work. Although, in a positive note, they also came up with the Vaudevillains, which I think is a fantastic name.
Let's just be thankful they're not calling them Team Lay Ray or Team Mechanics. Like they fucking went for that phase for a while.
Give them some time. And you forgot to mention, this is also 1 week after they also stole Seth Rollins' cat from us.
Yeah, that's true. Seth Rollins' cat was the third one. In 1 week, they've taken 3 things that we've done.
Wait, they took Seth Rollins' cat?
Yeah.
Angry, hungry Seth Rollins cat. They made it into a meme on WWE.com.
Oh, okay. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, so the next stupid ass thing that we do on Smack Talk, pay attention because it'll pop up on WWE.com.
Okay,
I'm
we
just
really need to start pushing Toe Trick Pig.
I'm just waiting for Rusev to come out as a potato.
Eventually he will, the way that we keep hitting on the potato thing.
Once he-
He's going to come out with a potato.
Once he gets beat by Cena and cool off, watch.
It's instead of coming out and waving the flag, he's going to start chucking potatoes.
Oh, he'll definitely be Peyton's favorite wrestler.
Come up with a spud gun.
The old Spudnik joke. It was such a
The
great
accolade is just somebody called the Masher.
Okay, there's one other hot tag to mention, and that's from Wago pointed this out earlier. Bobby Lashley is going to be fighting at, what is it, Bellator 120 what?
Just call it Bella shit. And it's going to be Bellator 123, 132. I don't remember what I told you, but he is fighting some can, so if he loses, I'm going to laugh my ass off.
He's fighting what?
A can. It's a terminology for a really shitty fighter who's had 8 wins and 7 losses. So I think it's just a gimme fight to introduce him, but if he loses, he's going to look fucking terrible. This is a no-win for him if he doesn't come out on top. And the fact that he lost a fight for getting too tired before doesn't bode well for him.
Your thoughts on this, Miguel?
I mean, they have Bobby Lashley under the Viacom umbrella with TNA, so it would make sense that they want to utilize him in that regard. And yeah, it's 123. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for it. It's not a bad looking card, to be honest with you, but yeah, if he loses, it's just going to be another nail in the coffin for Bellator. Which, if you're an MMA fan, you know there's a lot of nails in that coffin right now.
And also he's the TNA champion, so that company's gonna look even shitter if he loses.
Yeah. But then again, they did promote King Mo as their next big TNA star, and didn't he just lose to Rampage?
Yeah, and what's King Mo doing now?
He is actually on the same card as Bobby Lashley.
No idea who these people are.
It's okay. It's okay, Tony.
John, you going to check this out?
I'm in the same boat as you, Tony. I have no idea who these fuckers are. But yeah, I hope Bobby Lashley gets his ass fucking handed to him. So then they have to vacate the title at TNA and then give it to EC3. And then I will start watching.
I'd be down for that. I like EC3.
Ethan
What
got
about
it.
you, Peyton? Do you like Ethan Carter?
Ethan got it. Ethan got it. I have no idea what the crap you guys are talking about. Bobby Lashley's playing Kick the Can or something? I completely mixed this.
I
Pretty
would pay
fucking
to
much.
see that. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he'd botch it.
That's going to be the next TNA pay-per-view main event, man.
Kick the can. It's their new pay-per-view, Kick the Can, where every match is a Kick the Can match.
Apparently,
And
Russo's...
the rules are the opposite. The can has to kick you since it's
Yeah.
fucking TNA.
I wish TNA would just kick the bucket.
I see what you did there. Alrighty, guys. Well, there's the hot tags. We're gonna roll along into part 3 and talk about the hottest WWE divas that are on the roster at the round 3 section of that, and then we're gonna take a break with the rest hold, and then start getting into battleground predictions.